The Zen story of self-love. The journey toward your true essence. There are stories that change lives. There are moments when a simple truth, spoken at the right time, can shatter the walls we've spent years building. This is the story of what happens when you dare to truly listen to yourself. It isn't a story of magic or instant miracles. It's something deeper, more real, and for that reason, far more powerful. It's the story of Maya, who found in a forgotten video the key she needed to unlock the door to her own heart. Join Maya on her journey through 8 transformations. Discover how a simple message, "The best thing you can do is love yourself enough," unleashes a cascade of changes that touch every aspect of her existence. Because, dear reader, this isn't just her story. It's an invitation to your own transformation. Are you ready to hear what you need to hear? Chapter 1: The Broken Mirror. Maya woke up every morning with the same weight in her chest. 35 years old, living a life that looked perfect from the outside but screamed loneliness from within. She'd get up, look into the bathroom mirror, and the first thing she saw were all the reasons she wasn't enough. Not enough at work, not enough in her relationships, not enough for herself. She had spent decades seeking validation in other people's words. Her parents, her bosses, her partners, even strangers on social media. With every criticism, every rejection, she added another crack to her reflection. Until one morning, while mechanically sipping her cold coffee, her sister sent her a video. "Watch this. I think you need to hear it." Normally, Maya would have ignored that kind of message. But something about that gray morning, that quiet moment of surrender, made her press play. The voice in the video was warm. The words were simple. And yet, something in her heart stirred, as if it had been touched by a ray of sunlight after an endless winter. Chapter 2: The First Breath. After listening to the video 3 times in a row, Maya did something she hadn't done in years. She cried. Not the dry tears of exhaustion, but the deep tears of someone who finally allows herself to feel. The message was revolutionary in its simplicity. You don't need to be better to deserve yourself. You are already enough. You just need to believe it. At that moment, Maya realized something. Her whole life she had been waiting for someone to give her permission to love herself, waiting to be thin enough, successful enough, perfect enough. But that permission would never come from outside. That afternoon, she made a list. Not a list of everything wrong with her, but a list of every moment she had been kind to herself, even in small ways. Every time she chose to rest instead of overwork. Every time she defended herself against unfair criticism. Every moment she let go of perfectionism. The list was short, desperately short, but it existed, and that meant that somewhere, buried beneath layers of guilt and self-criticism, lived a part of her that did know how to love herself. Chapter 3: The Abandoned Garden. Transformation wasn't sudden. It was like a garden slowly awakening in spring. Maya began doing small things, things that seemed insignificant but, together, created a new rhythm in her life. She woke up early to sit in silence for 10 minutes. She didn't meditate formally. She just was. She listened. She honored the silence between her thoughts. When the critical voice in her mind said, "You're a failure," she replied, "That's not true. I did my best today, and that's enough." She discovered that self-love wasn't vanity. It was a revolutionary act of rebellion against a world that wanted to keep her small, scared, and endlessly chasing the next thing. One day at the market, a woman approached her. She had tired eyes, the same look Maya used to see in her own reflection. "How do you look so at peace?" the woman asked. Maya didn't know how to answer in that moment. But later, when she got home, she understood. Peace doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from stopping the destructive questions about yourself. Chapter 4: the wall of sand. Every transformation has a moment when old habits return like waves. Maya's came 2 months after watching the video. A criticism from her boss, combined with a failed romance, sent her spiraling back into darkness. She spent 3 days in bed, convinced that everything she had learned was an illusion. But this time it was different. Instead of punishing herself for relapsing, Maya got up, reopened the video, and allowed herself to listen as if it were the first time. And that's when she truly understood. Self-love isn't a destination you reach and stay in forever. It's a practice, like brushing your teeth or drinking water. It's something you need to do every day, especially on the hard days. That night, she wrote a letter to her past self, a letter full of compassion. She wrote about all the sacrifices she had made, believing she wasn't enough. She asked for forgiveness for all the times she had been cruel to herself. And then she burned the letter, not as an act of destruction, but as an act of release. The ashes floated through the air, and with them, something ancient within her dissolved. Chapter 5: Her Own Voice. Weeks later, Maya had a conversation she would never have had before. Her mother asked why she was setting boundaries in their relationship, why she complained about everything, and why she wasn't as flexible as before. In the past, Maya would have given in, sacrificing her truth to keep the peace. But this time, she answered from a different place. Not with anger, but with compassionate firmness. "Mom, I love you. And because I love you, I have to love myself first. That means saying no when I need to say no. It means honoring how I feel, even if you don't understand why." Her mother didn't understand right away, but something shifted between them, something fundamental. By loving herself, Maya discovered her presence in the world changed. She wasn't nicer or more accommodating. She was more authentic, and the people who truly loved her responded to that authenticity. Others drifted away. Friendships that existed only out of habit faded. But in their place grew real connections, grounded in mutual truth. At work, she asked for a raise and got it. She began caring for her body, not as punishment, but out of gratitude. She spent time alone without feeling lonely. And every night before bed, she gave herself 5 minutes to notice. Today I loved myself. Even in the hard moments, I chose love. Chapter 6: The Restored Mirror. 6 months after watching the video, Maya looked into the mirror again. But this time, she wasn't searching for flaws. She looked at herself the way you look at someone you love deeply, with curiosity, tenderness, and acceptance. Her reflection hadn't changed dramatically. She was still herself. But now she was enough. More than enough. One day, while having coffee in a small bookstore, a teenage girl sat at the next table. Maya saw everything in her that she once had been: anxiety, self-criticism, the weight of impossible expectations. Without thinking much, Maya asked, "Are you okay?" The girl, surprised by the genuine question of a stranger, began to talk about school pressure, her body, and the feeling of never being enough. Maya listened. Then she shared the truth she had learned. It will never be enough if you keep seeking validation outside yourself. But if you learn to validate yourself, you'll realize you've always been exactly who you needed to be. The girl didn't fully understand that day, but Maya saw something light up in her eyes, a spark of hope, a seed planted, and she understood another level of transformation, when your own self-love becomes a beacon for others. Chapter 7: The Flowing River. A year later, Maya realized something astonishing. She was happy without being constantly on guard. It wasn't a naive or shallow happiness. It was a happiness that contained sadness, uncertainty, and pain. It was the happiness of someone who finally allowed herself to be human instead of perfect. The video that once felt like a random message from her sister had become a compass. She didn't listen to it every day, but she returned to it when she needed to, and each time, she found a new layer, a new meaning. She came to understand that the video had never been the change. It was only the catalyst. The real change had happened within her, in those quiet moments when she chose to believe she was enough, in the brave moments when she protected herself, in the tender moments when she forgave herself. One day, Maya played the video again, this time to record her own version. She spoke from experience, from lived truth. She shared her story, not as proof that everything becomes perfect, but as an invitation for others to do what she had done. Listen to the call of their own hearts. That recording reached 30 people. 5 of them wrote back saying the video had touched them deeply, that something inside them had awakened too. That's how transformation works. Like love, like healing. It expands slowly, silently, transforming the world one truth at a time. Chapter 8. The Eternal Cycle. 2 years later, Maya wasn't a different person. She was the same person, but finally at home with herself. She still had hard days. She still heard the critical voice. She still felt fear, insecurity, and doubt. But her relationship with those experiences had changed. They weren't enemies to defeat, just part of being human. What had changed most deeply was this. She had become her own favorite person. When facing challenges, she leaned on her own self-love. When she made mistakes, she treated herself with the kindness she would offer someone dear. When she achieved something, she allowed herself to celebrate without diminishing the joy. The night before her 37th birthday, Maya sat with a cup of hot tea and reflected. The message from that video that had changed everything was still simple. The best thing you can do is love yourself enough. Now she knew it wasn't a passing piece of advice. It was the deepest truth anyone can learn. Because when you love yourself enough, everything changes. Your relationship with yourself, your relationship with others, your relationship with life itself. You dare to be honest, to ask for what you need, to let go of what no longer serves you, to shine without apologizing, to fail with compassion, to grow without guilt. Maya picked up her phone and watched the video one last time. But this time, she listened as someone who had completed a cycle and was ready for the next. It wasn't the end. It was simply the beginning of a new way of living, one already familiar. The way of self-love. And in that moment, she understood the most beautiful truth of all. The best video you'll ever need to hear in your life won't always come from the outside world. Sometimes the best video is you reminding yourself in difficult moments that you deserve the same love you so easily give to others. Your transformation begins here. It begins the moment you finally decide to listen to yourself. Epilogue, your story begins now. This is Maya's story, but it's also the story of everyone who has ever wondered if they were enough, and discovered they always were. What's your next step?